Hello guys, welcome to this Java tutorial. So in this video we'll be covering all basic concepts of Java. So for that you need to understand little bit. Actually working directly for a freshers, for a beginners, working directly on Eclipse ID or NetBeans is not a good practice. But I'll be covering the logics and the data types what we'll be using in Java and the methods and the concepts of Java. Most probably I'll be covering the all OOPS concepts in Java. And for that, if I go with an text, we can also work with text file to compile Java programs. So but it takes too much time, so I'll be going with Eclipse IDE to make it a little bit faster. So first you need to create a Java project. We'll just create a Java project. For beginners, I recommend you people to go with the text editor to practice for good coding. So I'll just create some Java project, new, and I'll just create next and finish. So we have a source folder here now. So this source folder contains if it is a big Java project, we can add images, we can add print files, we can add Java files, everything are within this. So I'll simply add a Java file to this. Just a second. New class file, and this is some test class, or what we'll say, intact Abode. Okay, so this is my YouTube page actually. Just you can add a package to com.ia and just finish it. Now you can see we have a class here only with a class name. So here you need to understand what is a class. A class consists of group of methods and variables and functions which all exist within the class. So a class contains of its own components to exist in a main method. So just think, we are creating a variable int I equals to 20. Here the I variable, it can be used within the class anywhere within the class. So if I try to create a, now I just think I'll create a string value. String name is equal to some detectable. Okay, now here we have two variables, string and I, integer. So if I want to use these variables within the class, so just I want to print these variables. It's main method. Just a second. So here you need to figure out one thing. These are instance variables actually. Variables, and this is static variable. Sorry, this is sorry. This is also an instance variable. A little bit confused. So instance variables are nothing but the class variables are nothing but instance variable which can be used within the class anywhere by creating the object of the class. Now we have two instance variable. You can't directly access this thing. So sys out of, if you print I, so it shows an error because you need to create object of the in class to access them in the main method. So you may be thinking why I need to create an object. So there is a logic in Java you need to understand. So main method is a static method actually. So static method supports mostly static variables and static method without creating an object. But when you try to access the instance variable in the static method, you need to create an object of the static. You need to create an object of the class and access those variables. But if these are static variables, I'll also create a static variable. Static variable. some sorry static string is equals to some static string name 2 equals to some Suryam some Suryam. So what is a string? I will be also explaining you. So this is a static variable and this is an instance variable, and this is also an instance variable. So to access the instance variable in a static method, main method is actually a static method, okay? So to access this instance variable in static method, you need to create an object. So how to create an object? So Java is completely a object oriented programming language. Intact abode IA equals to new intact abode. Okay, now we can access, now we got the class in this in the method, in the static method. Now by using the IA reference variable, we can access the I and name. Simply print IA dot I and sort of IA dot name. But here you can see for the name too, this is a static variable and this is a static method. Here you can see here this is static, main method is also static, and we have a static variable in the class, so you can directly access this variable without creating an object. So to access the static variable in static method, you don't need to create any object. Now when you print this, you can see I intact about Suryam will be printed. See here we have got the variables. So you might be getting some new people might be getting confused that this how what are the purpose of these variables. Actually for only practice we'll be using this kind of data types, but in project level, when you go for a high level project levels, you won't be going with int string values. You'll be working with objects mostly. So objects can be anything. We may take the variables and derive from any place we don't know itself. So this is only for the practice, okay? Now I will go with some different way. Now I think you have understood what is difference between instance variable and static variable. Now we'll go with a method. So I want you to remember 2 points here is that with me in entire Java, to access the instance variable or instance method, or it may be anything of a class variable without static modifier, you need to create an object to access those variables or methods. For a static variables, you don't need to access, just you need to directly call with the class name. So this is also variable. See, for this there is also another way. For static variable there is also just think we have a class, we have another class of some test class. So to access the test class static variable, you can simply call with the class name also. For example, let's consider with the same class I have a class name called intact abode. So you can not, without creating object, intact abode dot name to, this is also perfectly available. So you can see intact abode is the class name. By using class name and its static variable, we can call the static variable and just print it. This is also perfectly variable. You can see here the Suryam is printed again. Now we'll work with methods. Now let's consider a method. Void is the return type. Void sum test. Void test is equals to, okay, so this is something like this. Now I'll just print some value in it, or else you can make int I equals to 20 and int j equals 30. Okay, now s out of 10 plus I plus j. I'm just printing this, of course, right? This is capital J, it's a case sensitive. So now we have instance method. This is instance method. St This is an instance method actually. So to access the instance method in the static method, I already said you that how to access the instance variable in a static method. So you simply create the object of the class and simply access with the method name, and this I plus j will be printed, or the value 30 and 20 will be printed 50. So just create the object intact abode I equals to new intact abode. Now ia dot test, we have the test method, right? Just call test method and just click the output. You will get the output is 50. So here we have printed the ing value. Now the same way I'm just removing this and I'll convert this as a static method and I will just print this with the class name. Here there is another way, you can directly print test directly test off and just compile the program. You will get the value 50 here. But the same way you can also call this by the class name. Just copy the class name and just paste it dot. This is also perfectly valid and you can just simply compile it. You have got the answer 50. So this is the process, this is the way of creating methods. Now there is another way of creating methods. Now I'll show you how to create a single method and use it in multiple purposes. For example, you just want to calculate a person's you just want to calculate what we say, just a marks percentage of some candidate or a marks values of some candidate. So we'll just create a method of a student void student percentage okay, student string name comma int total marks comma, sorry, this is not a semicolon, it's a colon, and this is comma, and int um, secured marks. Okay, now I'll create a method. What is the purpose of creating a method with arguments? I'll explain you. Now just think, every student has a name, every student is having a equal of total marks, and every student is having some secured marks. By simply passing the student name and his total marks and secured marks, we just want to print what is the percentage of the student marks. Now just see here, we'll just print so student name s name is equals to name, so you'll just print the value like this. So sort of name directly, name is equals to, so we are just passing the variable name here, right? And we'll just pass total marks. And how to calculate the percentage, I'll tell you. So here the percentage formula is, so I'll just comment this. So this is percentage formula actually. I'll just show you how to do it. Now double D equals to percentage formula, okay? So the total amount divided by the total marks divided by 100 into the secured marks will give you the percentage. So total marks is total marks divided by 100 into secured marks, okay? So this will give you the percentage value. So here sometimes there may be a chance of integer double value will be more than will have more than two decimals. If it is if we have that process, I'll explain you. So double section double percentage is equals to total marks divided by 100 into this. Now we'll just print student name and his percentage, right? Now we'll print this and percentage, or else we'll print in some next line. So we'll just print in next line if you people are freshers and little bit getting confused. Now I'll just print the so actually this should be in small letters where as per Java rules. So this is percentage, right? So for every student there is no need of creating all the time uh, creating a string name total. So we know the common values of student is his name, and he will be having some total marks, and the secured marks he'll be having. So just you need to pass the student name and total marks and get the values. We just pass the student name, total marks, and the values. So this will be the common formula. So how to use this formula, I'll show you. Now we know the student, sorry, this is also small letters. So we know the student is an instance variable. So how to access the instance variable? Using the class object. Okay, just create the class object. There are two ways of creating objects. In this case we are only access in this case there is we are only accessing a single method, so there is no need of creating the complete class object. Something like intact abode IA is equals to new intact abode is the old way of creating a object. So this is also valid, but here you only have one method to work with, so there is no need of creating this complete object and calling with IA dot the method name. So you can directly call like this also, new intact abode dot, we have the student method student, and here is saying to pass the name of the student, or what are the total marks and the secured marks. Just so string name is actually string, just I'll pass some Suryam jysuryam, and the total marks is 80 marks. Okay, and the secured marks is something around 21 marks, or else for engineering students it is 28 marks. In my days it was 28 marks. Now I'll just print this, I'll see what will happen. See here, okay, there is little bit something mistake happened here. Okay, no problem, I'll work it. See, the name has been printed and the percentage has not come properly. I'll just work on that. So there is nothing wrong I have done here. The only thing is this is a double value, and we are using the integer values to calculate here, but we are getting this value when you calculate this value. When you compile this, it's getting a double value. You can see a decimal value. So decimal value is nothing but a double value, right? So just check here, please be clear here. You are trying to get a double value using integers, so the output is integer actually. We are using the integer data types to calculate, but the output is double. So to convert the output as double, now we are having the double output, right? Just you need to typecast the double. Just you need to typecast the data type with double and just print it. I think you're clear, right? Now just click it and just print it. See here, we have more than two decimals. We no need to have, we don't want all these things to have. So I'll tell you how to remove these things also. So I think you got the answer, right? The name is Suryam and something like that. So as many as you can pass this, I'll show you. So I'll just pass this is as some Swati and some Tumbu and some intact and Abode and some YouTube. So we'll just change the total values here: 28, 27, 26 and 29, some 45, some 70. Okay, now I'll just a second to make it little bit space. I will just print a simple text. So just see what happens now. Just compile this. See, so there are name jysuryam, jyswati is having this percentage 20. You can see like this you can print the percentages of. So we are using a single method here and we are passing just the variables here instead of creating a method all the time, right? But by this way we can use the method like this. So now we have known how to create the student name creating single method, right? Now we'll go for some other way of working. So I'll show you how to work with method overloading and method overriding also. So we'll work on the concept of method overloading. So just now if you go with the same class, so there is a small thing I have to tell you, so that will be in future level, so nothing to worry. I'll just cover that one also. Now just consider a method void m1, okay. This out of hello something hello world, and we have another method void m2 of method m2, okay. This out of some namaste, okay. So when you try to print this, it's common that you can simply print with the class name, so by just creating the object. So dot m1 and ia dot m2, right? By simply printing this you will print hello world and namaste, right? Yeah, so this is the output. We are printing hello world and namaste. Very good, not a problem here. But here if I want to print just if you want to print the namaste first and hello world later, then you can directly do like this also. Just call the m2 method in the first place and call the m1 method in the second place. So this method will reverse. So namaste and hello world has been printed. Now I only want to print the m1 value. Along with the m1 value I want to print the m2 value also. Just understand the logic here. Here I want to print ia dot m1, but I will not be printing the m2 value here, but along with the m1, only with the m1 I want to print the m2 value also. In this case what we are going to do, just say we only have the hello world here. So to do this, just in the m1 method, just before m1 method you need to call m2 method here itself, right? So just call m2 off and close it. Just check now. So here if you check, if the expected output will be something like this. The first m2 first hello world will be printed, sorry, first namaste will be printed and next hello world will be printed. So how the process is going to be, you can see as soon as the void m1 has been started, the first it will check the m2 method. So m2 method is nothing but namaste, and the m1 the method content of m1 is nothing but hello world. So the expected output is namaste and hello world. Just compile it. See the namaste and hello. So if you want to print first hello world and then namaste, just call this m2 method after the hello world and just print it. First hello world is printed and this namaste is printed. In this case you can call one method in another method. So this will be useful in some other ways. So I'll give you some a live example how this method calling will be worked actually. So we'll just remove this content. Now just think we have a string value something int a comma int b, and I'm just printing sys out of a plus b, right? I have the values of a plus b, and just think this we will initialize this variable with the instance variable, or else no need, this is enough for the basics actually. So we have the a and b value, and I just want to print okay, well, so here I'll just print some value string. So so we are in the concept now, so we'll discuss a small thing here. Here we can have another method m1 also. Just I'll show you why we are on the concept. So let me explain this one also. This is nothing but, so here we have m1 method, and here we have m1 method. So in Java there can be two same method names but with different parameters list, but with different signature. Different signature is nothing but with different parameters list. So here we have void m2. So if I make this as m2, it's perfectly valid. You can see here this method is void m2. It's having two data types of int a and int b. So here I am creating another method with m2 name, but it does not have any parameters list here. So this is perfectly valid. So when you try to call, you'll just call the m2 method and pass the variables in this, and here you'll only call m2 method without any variables. We'll just print this if you wanted to. Sys out of some high, will print it. So just I want to call the m2. Now just forget about the m1 method. Here int ia dot m2 method. First we have in m2 method we have data type site, so 10 comma 20, and ia dot m2. Just see here, one method is having the parameters list and one method is not having any parameters. So this process is called method overriding, I think. Just a second. So this process is called method overloading. Okay, so nothing to get confused. I was little bit confused. This was an old concept, so I'm just remembering it. So this concept is called method overloading actually. So when you compile this, it is perfectly valid. 30 is printed and high is printed. See, so 10 plus 20 is 30, and high we have printed here. So in this case, this with same method name but different parameters list is nothing but method overloading. So here you can see, if you try to pass the same data types again, here again it's invalid. I'll just show you, copy, and I'm just pasting them here. Even now also it is invalid. But if you add one more int here, int z, now this is valid again. So here what's happening is that if it has if a class has same method names with same parameters list, the compilation won't understand which parameter is going to which method. So in this case this is not valid. If it is having two different parameters list, so the Java can easily understand that where the parameters should be passed with which data type. So I think you're clear with this, right? Now it's fine. Now here just you want to print, I was saying about this, just you want to print this, the same thing I have already explained you also. So just this is having some string 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 name. Okay, now we'll just print here sys out of name. Some name is name. Okay, name. Okay, So this is how we get the name, right? And we'll print his marks some sort of marks, right? We'll just marks, what will get the marks here, some a plus b, we can say. So here you just want to know one thing. Now in this case what happens is that you can't access these local variables in m2 here, because these are the local variables of m2 method. So if we make this as instance variable, so that we can access in m2 as well as in m1, right? So here I want to make them as a local variable of my m2 method, and also I want to make them as an instance variable. In this case you just int a equals to int a comma int. Now see, these are the instance variables and these are the, but when I just want to print the value of a plus b here, but when I compile this program internally, it will take the value of a from instance. So a is not having any initialization here. We are going to initialize the 10 and 20 of the m2 method here. So just I want to convert the instance variable with my local method, and I just want to access this variable entire the class after initialization. So just how I'll be doing that is, so to convert the instance variable to local variable, we have to use this keyword. This dot a is equals to a, and this dot b equals to b. Now we got this, right? Now to compile this, we have to use this dot a and this dot b. Even now I think it's perfectly valid. Just a second. So we have the value 30, right? Perfect. Now what I'll do is I'll call the same this dot a plus this dot b. Now I'll see what will happen. I'll just call the m2 value also, ia dot m2, sorry m1. So m1 is having some string name, we need to pass the name, right? So we'll pass the name here, it's Suryam. Okay, now I'll just compile this. See, name Suryam has been printed and 1020. So here you don't get confused. So everything is perfect, but I tried to print the value of this dot a and this dot b in a string format. Actually we have to add this value in the first place itself. So we'll just make int marks is equals to, so to convert the string value, so we are having the value of a and b in the form of string. So here to add these values, what we have to do is that integer dot percent of this dot a plus this dot b. Sorry, this is not the correct way. No problem. Just a second. We'll just make it a plus b, sorry, directly a plus b. What will happen? I'll just check it. Now I'll just compile this program. Yeah, it's perfect now. Actually I was trying to make it as an append value. So here what I have done is that I'm passing the a value in the m2 method, and I'm using the same a value and b value in the place of m2 method. So just check, when I compile this program, you can see m2 method is passing the 10 and 20 value, it's right. So the 30 is printed here, first m2 value, and in the place of m1 I'm passing the name, and as well I'm getting the marks, but I'm not passing any data types in the void m1. The values are getting from the m2 method. So by this way I think you have understood how to initialize the local variable with instance variable in a class and use the variables within the class anywhere. So we know that creating the purpose of instance variable is nothing but to use the variables in entire class, right? So the same thing, the same logic I have used here. So the way of this is nothing but using converting the instance variable to local variables and local to instance, so vice versa. So this is the thing. Now now we'll go in the next way of inheritance. Now I'll explain you what is inheritance also. Suggest we have a class intact abode, and I'll create another class. So some friend class, right? I'm just creating the class. Now in this class, just think we have some value of int a equals to 20 and string name is equals to some intact board, right? Sorry, I'm writing them in the package. A little bit confused. So these are our variables of int some id equals to some 1 2 3 4 5 6 something, and we have the name. Now to reduce the length of code, so I just want to directly access the id value and the name value in the class ia intact board. So in this case, how can I access those instance variables in my class? So first, to make the connection between these two classes, I want to extend the class intact with the friend class. So I just want to make a link with this intact abode with friend. To make the link, I'm just using the extends keyword, and friend, I'm just extending friend class. Now here, if you see, the intact abode is been extending the friend class perfectly. So in this case, I can access the intact abode class can access all the variables of the friend class, which are public variables. So public variables, okay, public variables. So I'll just print something for you. So it's out of what I'll just say friend class. So I'll just create the object first. To get the instance variables in static method, I have said you that you need to create the object of the class. So here you might be a little bit confused that to create which class object here. So to create the instance friend class object or this class object, so we have the variables in friend class. So create the class object of friend class, friend class fc is equals to new friend class. Okay, so fc dot id and sys out of fc dot name. So this is perfectly valid, so I'll just print yes. See, I have called this id value and name from the friend class, and I'm just printing them in my class to get, I'm getting these variables here. So this process is called inheritance. Inheritance is a process to acquire the other class variables and to reduce the length of the code in the current class. So this process is called inheritance process. Now how to prevent inheritance? See, knowingly or unknowingly, you are trying to use some secret or some confidential values. It may be in project level. If you go for some very important thing which you don't want to share in other class, so just you make it this as a private variable. And here, just a second, you don't need to have two modifiers, right? Just use a private modifier and end. Now if you see, you can't So friend class fc equals to new friend class. So fc dot sorry this sort of fc dot only name is, you can only print the name, but you can't print the id now, because we have prevented the inheritance of the id by using private modifier. Now if you print, it says we get an exception on zero intact port, something like that, thread exception. So because we can't access this, because it's preventing inheritance of the variable. For example, now just think, I don't want to access the complete friend class variables. I just don't want to extend. I want to make this complete friend class as a secured class which should not be extended by any other classes. So in that case, I'll just make it as final class. Here just remove the class public and use a final modifier. Now here you can't even print, now you can't even extend the friend class here. So in this case we are preventing the friend class inheritance with the intact board, so you can't do this thing. So you can see it's already red mark, but when you go for text for a beginner, so when you do for the first time, you'll have a thread exception, so that you can't inherit the friend class in intact board. So this is the way of another thing, right? Fine. Now this is, so still now we have worked on inheritance and the method overloading and all different concepts. Now in this I will explain you of how to work with method overriding. So where we have already worked with method overloading in the previous concept. Now just see, we have void m1, right? So this is having some implementation of hello. So here, so we know how to print this. So new intact abode dot m1, right? So the hello has been printed perfectly. Now here we have a little bit, now this what we have the same method names, so this is not possible, right? We'll just make the int a and I'll just pass the, so m1 with 10, so hello world, right? Now hello and hello world will be printed perfectly. Yes. Now here this process is called method overloading. I have already said you that. Now we will discuss the process of method overriding. Okay. For this you need to have two classes. Just I will just cut this and I'll remove these two things. Now just think, I have a friend class. In a friend class I have a method called void m1. So this is friend class method. So this is friend class method, right? So in this method I just want to, in this method I have in this friend class I have a m1 method. This is okay, but in this I just I would just want to call the m1 method of friend class, and I want to print some other text in place of this. So the content of complete m1 method will be changed. I'll show you how to do that. Override is nothing but just we are replacing the m1 method with another m1 and changing the complete content of this. Now I'll just show you how to do that. Now first, to perform method overriding, we need to extend the classes. So extend friend class. So here we have a final modifier, right? We'll just remove it, public, so we can extend now friend class. Now here void m1, the same void m1 I'm printing here. So I'll just print this is Suryam. Okay, So here what happens is just sys out of, not sys out of, just I'll print mm, intact abode dot m1. So this method will be printed. This is Suryam, right? I think you are a little bit confused here that without the friend class also we can print the m1 method here, but this process is called, see the friend m1, the friend class also contains m1 method, and the intact abode class also contains an m1 method. But you might be thinking, what is the difference here? Both the classes are having m1 method and you're only calling the intact abode dot intact abode dot m1 method. So in this case, so if you compile this, it's splitting its own class methods. What's so different? But this kind of things will be appeared in a project level where there are already a predefined classes with some already implementations. You just want to override those implementations with your own implementations. So in that case, you will be using what the method name and its value here, and just print the value. For example, just think by default, just think a method is having a default color of red. Inside we are having a default color red. A text color is already a red. You just want to override the red color with blue, so that the text color will be not red, so it will be the blue color. In this case, we will be overriding the class with that, and you will just get the blue color of the text. Once I just shown you the string value, it's actually not a blue color. Don't get worried. I'm just saying, if there is a predefined class which already holds a red color for a text, to change the red color to blue color, what we do is we'll just extend the class with our current class, and we'll just call the same method with our own implementations, and we'll call the method. So the same thing I have done here, so you might be not getting a clear idea of this, so not a problem. Now we have skipped a small concept here working with it, constructors and blocks. So first, what's a constructor actually? So constructor is nothing but which is same as class name. A constructor is nothing but its constructor contains a class name and implementation. Just check intact, just you can see here auto generated constructor. Constructor name and class name must be same, so this process makes a constructor. So here you can simply print sys out. But what is the purpose of constructor actually? So constructors are executed during .class file loading. For this, you just have to create an object. To execute the constructors, you need to create an object. Just create a new intact abode. See here, I'm not calling intact abode dot again intact abode here, because constructors are executed during class file loading. To execute the constructors, you need to create an object. So this was not this was actually, so you can see the hello world has been printed here. In the earlier version, before 1.5 version of Java, you no need to even have to print in the main method. You can directly print so that the hello world used to be printed. Here it is saying there is no main method to print the constructor. But before the 1.5 version, there would be a process that you can directly execute the constructor inside methods or inside values without without calling the constructor in the main method. But after 1.5 version of Java, it has become a recommended process of that you need to create an object to print the constructor. So in this case, you are creating the constructor. So constructor name and class name must be same. So this is the thing, and we'll talk about blocks. So blocks are nothing but just opening and closing the curly braces. So these blocks are nothing but these are instance blocks. So because there is no modifier here, by default whenever we create a block in the class, those all classes are instance related stuff. I have already talked this with you. So this is an instance block. So when you create this instance block, I am just printing this is instance block. Okay, so here it won't print anything. So instance blocks are also executed during object creation. Just new intact board, right? Now I'll just compile hello world and both will be printed, right? See, here you might be getting little bit confused. I have printed first hello world, but the instance block is executed here. So the process is nothing but whenever the main method creates an object of the class, first the instance method executes and the later all methods will be executed. Just before all methods, at the first place the instance blocks will be executed. So this is the process of a block. Now we'll go for a static block. So this is a static block. So for this also you just need to create an object. See here, first the instance block has been executed, then later the static block has been executed, and later the hello world has been executed. The same process of instance and statics are used. So you can see I have printed first the constructor thing, but what happened is first the blocks has been executed and later the constructor has been executed. So this is the same process in any place. First the blocks will be executed and later the constructors or methods will be executed. So this is another way. So we have learned many concepts of instance blocks, static blocks, inheritance, method overloading, method overriding. So these are the few basics of every Java classes, Java oops concept. So we'll just go for a JDBC connect. We'll just connect a database with our class, and we'll insert some data using scanners. So that is the thing. So the purpose of learning Java is nothing but to store the data whatever we create or whatever we make in a project level. You will surely need to have a database to store the data. Okay, so we'll just create a database connection first we'll create a connection class within the same new connection. So we'll make this as a database connection, and we'll just close it. So the database connections will have important four important objects. Those are connection object, sorry, driver object, URL object, username and password. So we'll go for connection. So final static string driver name okay, and driver name will just initialize this variable. Okay, now final static string URL name final static username string username, right? I'll show you where to get these data types. Final static string PASS password. So connection mostly should be a static actually. So what I have done wrong here, I have forgot to close string stri. So we have the username, just create the connection also. Final static connection Connection is an interface. Connection, sorry, just don't want this. Sorry, what this? Right, we got the static connection is equals to null. So we have initialized the connection also. Just will create a public static connection sudo get connection. Okay, so we are just creating a connection. So public static connection get connection. So here we need to return the connection, return connection to you, return connection, right? Now, so you just try Cashflow. Now how to create a connection? So for that you need to have a database. So I'm already using a database here. It's an H2 database. So this is my database here. So here I have a class driver name, URL, username and password. So when I connect to this, so I have some group of tables here. So I'll just again open for you guys. This is an H2 database. This is an embedded database actually. So I am using for my small application development, and for my practice I'll be using this database to store data and retrieve data and all those stuff. So I just connect this to this. So it's connected perfectly. I'll just close. So here is the driver name, the driver class name, right? I'll just get the class. Driver name is this, and the URL name is this. So we have the URL name. Just paste the URL name, and the username is this. So I got the username, and password is empty. Just leave the password as it. So now to get the driver of the class, first you need to get a class dot for name and the driver name first. Next, connection is equals to driver manager dot get connection username, sorry, URL name comma username comma password. So these are the fields of getting a connection. Okay, I'll remove the final. So by this we can get the connection. So now you can see SYS sys out of connection successful. If connection is successful, I'm just printing a message, connection successful. So I'll just print some message if the connection is successful. I'll just get the connection in my class. So that connection will create a connection instance. I'm just removing the extends keyword, and I'll also close this. So first create a null connection to access the connection. Connection is equals to null, right? Now connection, sorry, so we'll make this a static connection. Connection is equals to database connection dot get connection, right? We'll just compile this. We'll see whether the connection has been complete. So it has not got any exception. We'll just print some exception. E dot print stack trace. Okay, just again compile this. What the exception has raised? So class not found exception. So these exceptions are mostly caused by driver not found. So we'll just add the JDBC driver to this JDBC jar. How to add JDBC jar to project? Just right click on project, build path, configure build path, and add external jars. So this is my h2 database, right? So go to h2 database, and in the bin we'll find the database file and apply, click. Now I'll just retry to run the program. Sorry, yes, okay, I'll compile the program once again. So class not found exception, so database may be already in use, possible close all the collections. So I'll just close this all things. Okay, that means it has connected. See, connection is successful. Right, now the connection is getting successful. So we have the connection right now. So we'll use simple scanners and we'll create a table. First, how to create a table? So create table, we'll create a method for that. String table name, just pass. This I have already shown in some other tutorials also. So what we'll say, first we'll get the connection, right? First we'll get the connection here. So connection, after connection we'll just create a statement object, statement interface at statement object st equals to connection dot create statement, right? So this should be in try catch blocks. Actually this will throw an SQL exception, so just use try catch block. So what is the wrong here? Change type a statement to statement. Actually this should be not bean statement, this is other second wrong. So I'll just create interface statement is a Java SQL st is equals to connection dot create statement. So we have the table, so st dot execute the table name, right? Now table name is created successfully. So now we'll insert some data, insert into, now we'll just insert the data to the table name. Okay, now just compile this. Now we have not done anything, so this is the method. So this is an instance method, right? So how to create, how to pass, where how to call the instance method in static method? Just create an object, interact abode ia equals to new interact abode, right? So ia dot create table, and just we have to pass the table name here. How to pass the table name? So we'll just create a small query for that. We'll just create a table, just so now I'll create a table here, create table sum interact abode. Okay, we'll insert values with so name and varchar 2, right? We have to use two data types and we'll just make it a string. Varchar is nothing but a string data. We'll take the string values, and for id we'll use number, right? So we'll just make it as 10. Now we had this, just compile it. Yeah, that's, so the table has been created successful. This query is correct. So I'm just cutting it and I'm dropping the table, drop table interact abode, right? Because I will create this table from my Java application. Okay, I'll create my table from Java. So just pass the query here. So this is a string query. I have just shown you how to pass the parameters. So we are just passing the parameter to the method so that the method will be executed at this time. So we'll just print a message whether if the table is created successful. Table created successfully. Right, now I'll just compile this. So connection successful and table was created successful. We'll just check, and here I have forgot to do one thing. We have to close the connection as soon as we open it, right? So try catch block connection dot close. Right, just compile this. So here we have done one small thing. You have to create a table. If it's not a problem, so the table has been already created, there is no need of worry about that. So we'll just check once again. See, the table has been created with ID and name. Now we'll try to insert some values in this table from Java application, but first we need to make sure whether the query is correct or not. So insert into table, insert into interact about values. Okay, we'll just pass ID value is some 1234, comma, name will be some what we say hello world. Right, I'll just compile this program. See, this query is correct. So the 1234 value and hello world has been inserted. So I'll just try to insert this value from my Java application using scanners. So I'll just remove this and delete from interact about. Fine. Right, I'll just close this, and from this I'll use scanners. Okay, now scanners sc is equals to scanner is equal to new scanner system dot in input stream. So we are just taking the keyboard inputs, right? So that's why we are using system dot n. Now we need one ID value, so int ID equals to scanner dot next integer, and we are trying to use string also. So string name is equals to scanner dot next. Okay, so by this we are going to create something like that. Now just we'll just ask him just before to ask an idea, please enter ID, and here we'll ask him please enter name. This sort of right. Now we are getting the ID value and the name value. We'll just pass the query now here. So string, we have query insert data is equals to, so this is, sorry, we have the thing here. We'll just go to history. So these are the insert query, right? We'll just copy paste it, but we are inserting the data using prepared statement. Okay, prepared statement. So to prepare for prepared statement, these values are not, so this should be a variable actually, so we can't directly use that thing, right? Directly hello world, we don't know what data type we'll be using. Field, so this question mark represent this is an unknown variable that will be accepted by the user input or by the user. So just we are just passing them as question marks, so that may be an unknown values. So as many values as can be inserted in the form of question marks. So just we'll create again try cache block. We'll just go for prepared statement. Prepared statement ps is equals to connection dot prepared statement, and we'll just pass the insert query here. So ps dot set string first is the set ID, right? Set ID, set int first will be the first will be the ID, right? We'll just pass this ID here. We are just getting the input of ID from keyboard, and we are just passing it. ps dot set string 2 comma, and we'll just pass the name here, right? Now I just want to know whether this has been inserted or not, so I'll just int id int success is equals to ps dot execute update, right? If success greater than 0 means, why I'm using this whole thing means, when the data is inserted to the database successfully, it returns one value actually. So I'm just saying, if success is greater than 0, if the inserted value is greater, if the value returns 1, and if it is greater than 0, I'm just printing okay, so data has been inserted successfully. Success, right? So this is a query of mine. So here I just want to change one to if not exist. So what is the purpose of is not exist is that, so in some regular process we may be creating table, but I only want to create table if this is not there. So I'm just saying create table if not exists intact Abode. So this you will be understanding in an SQL query. So if table is not there in the database, just create the table and insert the values. So I'm just creating the table. For the table I'm creating method, I have created a method here. Now I just compile this program. Let's see what happens. See, table is created. See, connection is successful, table is created. Now I'll just enter id sum 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, right? Now enter name. So I'll just enter intact Abode Suryam. So that means it has taken the inputs, but the data has not been inserted. So we'll check whether the data has been inserted or not, or else. So the data is not inserted. We'll check what is the problem. Yeah, I got the problem. What is the problem is, we have not got the connection here. We have to get the connection, right? Connection is equals to connection manager. So database connection is equals to database connection. Just a second, we have to get this connection, right? So how we will get the connection here? Connection is equals to database connection dot get connection, because to insert some, so we have created a table and we have closed the connection, and we have again need another connection to insert the data also, right? So again I'm closing this. So we'll just copy paste. To for connection leakage, we'll be closing the connection regularly, okay, in database. So for the if you have a regular practice, you will have good idea of closing connection. So I'll just create table. What happened here? Database is already existed, so I just want to close all databases. So I'll just try to compile again. See, so database is compiled successfully. So I'll just enter, or else 7896543 2, okay, and name will be some name something, right? See, please enter connection successful, and the data is not inserted still. So what will be the problem here? So insert in, sorry, why the edit has come here, shit, insert into table. So I have done a small wrong here. So insert into intact Abode values question mark. Now this will be sure. I'll just again enter and some name. See, connection is successful and data inserted successful. So there are plenty of videos for SQL query, writing SQL queries and creating swing components, and we can also create a desktop applications. So there are plenty of videos in my YouTube channel, so please watch all of them, and please do subscribe if you like my video. So I may not be good with my English, but please, I want you people to get a little bit adjusted with that. So thank you for watching for this video, and please do subscribe and watch my all videos which are related to swing tutorials, JDBC connections, and SQL queries. I have done with plenty of hard SQLs which are regularly used in regular databases, and I have also created a simple building application in my YouTube tutorials. So please do watch them, and thank you for watching.